Can you guess who came out on top as the person children most wanted to resemble back in the days? None other than the legendary cowboy himself, Roy Rogers. Now, you might think that you know everything there is to know about this legendary figure. The cowboy hat, the guitar, the larger-than-life persona. But hold on, because there's more to Roy Rogers than meets the eye. Join us as we peel back the layers of rumor and speculation to uncover the confirmed truths about Roy Rogers' life, as revealed by his own family. Roy Rogers, or Lynn as he was known back then, was born in a tenement on 2nd Street, right where Riverfront Stadium stands today. Roy liked to joke later in life that he was practically born at second base. But life in the city wasn't cutting it for the Sly family. Roy's dad, Andrew "Andy" Sly, wasn't too thrilled with his job and the hustle and bustle of Cincinnati. So, what did they do? Well, Andy and his brother Will decided to build a boathouse from salvage lumber measuring a cozy 12 by 50 feet. In July 1912, the Sly family set sail, or rather river, up the Ohio River towards Portsmouth, seeking a change of scenery. They were on a mission for a more stable existence, and by golly, they planned to build a house on land they purchased in Portsmouth. But here's the twist. The Great Flood of 1913 had other plans. Instead of building on the land, the Sly family found themselves moving the houseboat right onto their property, thanks to the flood. Back in 1919, the Sly family snagged themselves a farm in Duck Run, Ohio. Now, it wasn't all smooth sailing because, let's face it, farming alone wasn't paying the bills. So, Andy Sly, Lynn's dad, had to hustle. He snagged a gig at a shoe factory in Portsmouth, which meant he was away during the week, but he'd come back on weekends bearing gifts, including a horse for young Lynn. Saturday nights on the farm were like a scene out of a feel-good movie. They'd clear out the barn, bring in the neighbors, and let loose with some square dances. Life throws a curveball. The Sly family packs up and heads back to Cincinnati, where Dad's grinding away at yet another shoe factory. Now Lynn, being the responsible son he is, steps up to the plate. He's like, "Hey, family needs me. School can wait." So he bids farewell to high school after completing 2 years and jumps into the shoe factory scene with his old man. Lynn tries to keep the education flame alive by hitting up night school, but guess what? Some people don't appreciate a hard day's work followed by an evening of learning. Yep, Lynn faced some ridicule for dozing off in class, and you know what he did? He said, "Adios, night school," and never looked back. Fast forward to 1929, and Lynn's life takes another unexpected turn. His sister Mary and her husband set up shop in sunny Lawndale, California, and they're like, "Hey, Sly fam, come check out the West Coast vibes." So what do Lynn and his pops do? They kiss those factory jobs goodbye, hop in their trusty 1923 Dodge, and hit the road for Cali. Lynn gets another shot at the California dream, and this time, Mary's father-in-law is along for the ride. And guess what? They decide to make the West Coast their new home. The Sly crew plants their roots, renting a cozy little house near Mary. Lynn and his pops dive headfirst into jobs, driving gravel trucks for a highway project. So it was spring 1931, and Lynn's California dream takes an unexpected twist. The construction gig hits a major snag, leaving him in a bit of a pickle. But guess what? Lynn's not the type to back down. He packs his bags and heads to Tulare, California, where he lands a gig picking peaches for none other than Del Monte. Can you believe it? Now, here's where things get absolutely riveting. Lynn finds himself in a labor camp straight out of Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. Yeah, the real deal, the hardships, the struggles, all of it. The Great Depression is hitting hard, and Lynn's in the middle of it, picking peaches day in and day out. Can you imagine the sheer resilience it took to weather that storm? 19-year-old Lynn is back in Lawndale, and his sister Mary drops a bombshell suggestion. Why not audition for the Midnight Frolic radio program? It's a big deal. Broadcast over KMCS in Inglewood, and Mary's got his back, even whipping up a killer Western shirt for him. A few nights later, with that snazzy new shirt on his back, Lynn kicks shyness to the curb and takes center stage on the Midnight Frolic. Armed with his guitar, he not only sings his heart out, but throws in some show-stopping yodeling. And just like that, Lynn Sly becomes the talk of the town. But wait, the adventure doesn't stop there. Just a few days later, the local country music scene comes knocking on Len's door, and he's invited to join the Rocky Mountaineers, a dream come true. In August 1931, Len officially becomes a card-carrying member of the group, ready to conquer the California music scene with his twangy tunes and unbeatable yodels. Stick around, because soon we'll be lifting the veil on the iconic Roy Rogers character, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. So, it's September 1931, and Len's on the lookout for some talent to spice up his group, the Rocky Mountaineers. And who answers the call? None other than the Canadian-born Bob Nolan, a yodeler extraordinaire. Bob sees Len's classified ad in the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner and thinks, "Hey, that sounds like my kind of gig." The ad's pretty straightforward. Yodeler for the old-time act to travel. Tenor preferred. Perfect fit, right? But here's the kicker. Bob's stint with the group is short-lived. Yet, he and Len hit it off, and they stay in touch, laying the groundwork for future collaborations. Enter Tim Spencer, who steps up to the plate to fill Bob's shoes. Now, fast forward to spring 1932, and Len, Tim, and another singer named Slumber Nichols decide to break away from the Rocky Mountaineers and form their own trio. But alas, the trio's dream doesn't quite pan out, and they go their separate ways. But Len's not one to give up that easily. Throughout the year, he and Tim hop from one group to another, trying to find their groove. From the International Cowboys to the O'Barrow Cowboys, they're on a musical roller coaster. And just when it seems they're hitting a rough patch, opportunity knocks again. When Tim takes a break from music, Len joins forces with Jack LaFever and his Texas Outlaws, a hot ticket on the local Los Angeles radio scene. Now, here's a fun fact about his iconic horse, Trigger. Roy Rogers' connection with his famous Palomino horse, Trigger, is legendary. Originally named Golden Cloud, when he was foaled in California in 1932, Rogers renamed him Trigger when he acquired him. Together, they became an iconic duo, capturing the hearts of audiences around the world with their on-screen chemistry and thrilling adventures. But Trigger wasn't the only horse in Roy's stable. He also owned a thoroughbred racehorse named Trigiro, who proved to be a champion in his own right. Trigiro won an impressive 13 career races, including the prestigious 1975 El Encino Stakes at Santa Anita Park, showcasing Roy's love for both entertainment and sport. In early 1933, Len, Bob Nolan, and Tim Spencer are about to make some musical history. They decide to kick it up a notch and form the Pioneers Trio. Len's on guitar duty, Nolan slapping the strings of that bass, and Spencer belting out the tunes as the lead vocalist. Now, these guys mean business. They spend weeks honing their vocal harmonies, putting in the work to create something truly special. Len, always the multitasker, continues rocking it with his radio singing group, while Spencer and Nolan start penning some tunes for the trio. But wait, there's more to the story. Early 1934 rolls around, and they welcome fiddler player Hugh Farr into the mix. With his bass voice adding a new layer to their harmonies, the Pioneers Trio is on fire. And then comes the plot twist. A radio station announcer decides they need a name change. Why? Because he thinks they're too young to be called Pioneers. So, ta-da! The Pioneers Trio becomes the Sons of the Pioneers. The name sticks, fits like a glove, and captures the essence of this group that's no longer just a trio. By summer 1934, the Sons of the Pioneers were taking the music world by storm. Their fame spreads like wildfire, starting from their roots in Los Angeles and quickly reaching every corner of the country. How did they do it? Through those short syndicated radio segments that were broadcast far and wide, reaching folks from coast to coast. And boy, did they make an impact. People couldn't get enough of their harmonies and down-home charm. But wait, it gets even better. The Sons of the Pioneers landed a recording contract with the newly minted Decca label, and on August 8, 1934, they hit the studio for their first commercial recording session. And what's the first song they lay down? None other than Tumbling Tumbleweeds, penned by none other than Bob Nolan himself. That's just the beginning, folks. Over the next 2 years, they churn out 32 songs for Decca, including the timeless classic Cool Water. In 1935, Len made his film debut and dove headfirst into the world of Western movies. He lands a significant supporting role as a singing cowboy, still going by the name Leonard Sly, along with none other than Gene Autry. But here's where things get interesting. In 1938, Audrey, the big name in singing cowboys, wanted more dough for his talents. This sparks a competition for a new singing cowboy, someone they could pay a bit less for. Cue the auditions, with singers vying for the gig, including Willie Phelps of the Phelps Brothers, known for their early Western movie appearances. And guess who comes out on top? Yep, Len. He wins the contest and is handed a brand new stage name by Republic Pictures, Roy Rogers. They pick Roy for that classic Western vibe and combine it with the surname of the legendary comic entertainer Will Rogers. Assigned the leading role in Under Western Stars, Roy gallops onto the silver screen and quickly becomes a household name, giving Gene Autry a run for his money as America's favorite singing cowboy. But Roy's not stopping there. He's not just a one-trick pony. Nope, he's flexing his acting chops too, appearing in the John Wayne classic Dark Command in 1940. And guess what? He shares the screen with one of his future sidekicks, the legendary George "Gabby" Hayes. And here's the kicker. Roy's not just another face in the crowd. Oh no, he's a major box office attraction, drawing in audiences with his charm, talent, and trademark smile. Unlike other stars of the time, Roy's leading roles often let him play a character with his own name, just like his rival, Gene Autry. This cowboy legend wasn't just riding high in the saddle, he was dominating the box office like nobody's business. In the Motion Picture Herald Top 10 Money-Making Western Stars poll, Roy's name was a fixture for an incredible 16 consecutive years, from 1939 all the way to 1954. And get this, he didn't just make the list, he held the coveted first place spot from 1943 to 1954 until the polls called it quits. Now that's what you call a winning streak. But wait, there's more! Roy wasn't just a Western star, he was a box office powerhouse across the board. In the box office poll from 1938 to 1955, he was a force to be reckoned with, holding first place from 1943 to 1952. And even in the final years of that poll, he was giving Randolph Scott a run for his money, landing in second place. But here's the real kicker. Roy's popularity wasn't just limited to Westerners. Oh no, he was making waves in the overall film industry too, appearing in the top 10 money-making stars poll of all films in 1945 and 1946. Roy Rogers wasn't just a cowboy on the screen, he was a hero to countless children across the nation. His film and television shows captured the imaginations of young viewers, transporting them to a world of adventure, courage, and of course, the Wild West. What set Roy apart from the rest was his embrace of true color technology in his post-war films. While most other B-Westerns were still in black and white, Roy's movies exploded onto the screen in vibrant color, dazzling audiences with their visual splendor. And here's where things get really special. Roy's movies weren't just about shootouts and showdowns, they often delved into heartwarming animal adventures. Trigger, Roy's trusty steed, would sometimes steal the spotlight, venturing off on his own with the camera following his every move. These scenes captured the hearts of viewers, young and old alike, and they watched Trigger's escapades unfold on the screen. In his 1940 contract with Republic Pictures, he negotiated a groundbreaking clause giving him the rights to his likeness, voice, and name for merchandising, a move that would change the game. A flood of Roy Rogers merchandise left an indelible mark on popular culture. From action figures to cowboy adventure novels, playsets, and even a comic strip, Roy Rogers became a brand unto himself. The long-lived Dell Comics comic book series, aptly named Roy Rogers Comics and written by Gaylord Dubois, became a fan favorite. But it doesn't stop there. Roy Rogers wasn't just riding high on the screen, he was second only to the iconic Walt Disney in the sheer number of items featuring his name. From lunchboxes to bedspreads, kids across the nation were growing up with Roy Rogers as part of their daily lives. The Sons of the Pioneers were more than just a band. They were a Western music institution that stood the test of time. From the moment Roy Rogers helped form the group, they became synonymous with the spirit of the American West. Even as original members retired or passed away, the Sons of the Pioneers continued to keep the flame alive, replacing members and evolving with the times. While Roy may have stepped back from the active membership, they remained his trusted backup group, supporting him in films, on the radio, and even on television. And here's the beautiful part. Roy's connection to the Sons of the Pioneers ran deep. Despite his own busy schedule, he would often join them for performances, reminding audiences of the bond that tied them together. Whether it was on the stage or in the studio, Roy and the Sons of the Pioneers were a match made in Western music heaven. Despite his fame, he always made time to bring joy to those who needed it most, the kids. Regular visits to orphanages and children's hospitals became a trademark for Rogers. Armed with his trusty companion Trigger, he performed tricks that left the little ones wide-eyed and smiling. Despite his love for kids, Rogers and his first wife Arlene faced a heartbreaking struggle to start a family. In 1942, they decided to embrace parenthood through adoption, welcoming baby Cheryl into their home. Then, in 1943, a glimmer of joy arrived as Arlene gave birth to Linda Lou. The family expanded again in 1946 with the birth of Roy Rogers Jr., affectionately called Dusty. However, joy turned to sorrow just days after Dusty's birth when tragedy struck. Arlene suffered a massive brain embolism from a blood clot, leaving Rogers devastated as he had to say goodbye to his beloved wife. Amidst the sorrow of losing his first wife, Arlene, and becoming a widower with 3 young children, Roy Rogers found solace and love in an unexpected place, with his longtime co-star, Dale Evans. The two had shared countless adventures on screen, but life had a different plan for them. In a moment that blended the magic of the Wild West with the tenderness of real-life emotions, Rogers approached Dale one day before a rodeo show. As he stood with Trigger by his side, he posed a life-changing question. Why don't we get married? With the arena as their backdrop, he galloped into the spotlight on Trigger, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who witnessed the spectacle. In the midst of the rodeo excitement, Dale joined him in the spotlight, and without uttering a word, she silently mouthed the word, yes. The chemistry between the king of the cowboys and the queen of the West was undeniable, and their love story became one for the ages. Roy Rogers and Dale Evans' love story. This love story isn't just straight out of a Hollywood script, it's a testament to their deep bond, shared values, and commitment to making the world a better place. They first crossed paths in 1944 when they were cast in a film together, and from that moment on, their destinies were intertwined. The union of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans was sealed on New Year's Eve in 1947, marking the beginning of a new chapter for this iconic couple. But it wasn't just on the silver screen where Roy and Dale made their mark. They were passionate advocates for adoption, founding and operating children's charities and opening their hearts and homes to several adopted children. In 1950, the iconic couple, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, experienced another chapter of joy and heartache when they welcomed their own child, Robin, into the world. Robin was born with Down syndrome, and back in those days, doctors advised parents to consider placing such children in institutions. However, Roy and Dale, driven by love and determination, defied this advice. Roy firmly declared, "No, we are going home." They chose to embrace the challenges and joys that came with raising Robin. In Dale's own words, "That little baby gave us a perspective we might never have found without her. We needed her more than we ever knew when she was with us. She brought a wonderful peace to our lives." Tragedy struck the Rogers family when Robin contracted mumps, which tragically progressed to mumps encephalitis. Robin passed away just days after celebrating her 2nd birthday. It was a devastating loss that no parent should ever endure. Amidst the heartbreak, as they stood by their child's coffin, Roy Rogers found solace in a poignant observation. "She looks like a small-sized sleeping angel." Roy and Dale were outspoken Christians, living out their faith in every aspect of their lives. In 1949, they became a part of the Hollywood Christian Group, a gathering of like-minded believers founded by their friend, Lewis Evans Jr., who was the organizing pastor of Bel Air Church. This group wasn't just any gathering. It was a community of faith that brought together Hollywood stars like Billy Graham, Jane Russell, and of course, Roy and Dale. They met in the homes of prominent figures like Henrietta Mears, and later in the homes of Evans and Colleen Townsend after their marriage. In 1956, this community evolved into Bel Air Church, a beacon of faith and hope in the heart of Hollywood. Roy Rogers and Dale Evans were also known for their iconic theme song, Happy Trails, which Dale herself penned. This timeless tune became their signature sign-off on their television show, a fitting farewell to their viewers after each episode. In the fall of 1962, they teamed up once again to co-host the Roy Rogers and Dale Evans Show, a comedy western variety program that aired on ABC. Despite their star power, the show struggled to find its footing and was ultimately canceled after just 3 months. It faced tough competition in the ratings, going up against the formidable The Jackie Gleason Show on CBS. But even after the show's cancellation, Roy and Dale remained television favorites, making numerous cameo appearances on other popular shows. Whether starring as themselves or slipping into cowboy-type characters, like in the episode of Wonder Woman called The Bushwhackers, Roy Rogers continued to charm audiences with his charisma and talent. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations, you're in for a treat. But before we wrap things up, I've got one more story that's guaranteed to leave you in awe. Stick around to find out. Roy Rogers wasn't just a cowboy on the silver screen. He was also a savvy businessman with his own Hollywood production company. Through this company, he not only produced his own series, but also ventured into filming other undertakings, such as the 1955-1956 CBS Western series, Brave Eagle. Starring Keith Larson as the young, peaceful Cheyenne chief Brave Eagle, Kim Winona as his romantic interest Morning Star, and Anthony Nemkina as Keena, Brave's Eagle Foster son, the series captivated audiences with its gripping tales of adventure and camaraderie. But Roy's entrepreneurial spirit didn't stop there. In 1968, he struck a deal with the Marriott Corporation, licensing his name to convert their Hot Shops restaurants into Roy Rogers restaurants. While he had no direct involvement in the day-to-day operations of these restaurants, they became a beloved staple across the country, serving up tasty meals with a side of Western charm. Roy Rogers' connection to Lubbock ran deep, as he returned to headline the Texas Tech University Intercollegiate Rodeo in 1970, alongside his beloved Dale Evans. In 1974, the legendary Roy Rogers rode into the music scene with a bang, recording what would become one of the surprise hits of the decade. Titled Hoppy, Gene, and Me, this 20th century record took the airwaves by storm, capturing the hearts of fans far and wide. In a stunning display of popularity, the album sold a staggering 75,000 copies in its first 20 days alone. But Roy's ties to the Lone Star State didn't end there. In 1975, he starred in his last motion picture, Macintosh and TJ, which was filmed at the historic 6666 Ranch in King County, just 90 miles east of Lubbock. This iconic ranch, steeped in Western lore, provided the perfect backdrop for Roy's final cinematic adventure. Located near the Obarro Ranch in Kent County, the 6666 Ranch was a fitting setting for Roy's farewell to the silver screen. Surrounded by the rugged beauty of West Texas, Roy brought his trademark charm and cowboy spirit to the role, leaving audiences with one last memorable performance. As their health began to falter, their fans rallied around them with an outpouring of love and support, flooding them with thousands of heartfelt letters filled with well wishes and touching stories. Among those letters, one stood out like a beacon of hope, the extraordinary tale of a young boy named David. David's childhood was marked by numerous trips to the hospital for surgeries to repair a cleft palate. And every time, like clockwork, Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, and Pat Brady would swoop in to visit the children, bringing smiles and joy to their faces. But it was one particular surgery, when David was just 8 years old, that would forever etch itself into his memory. Picture this. David wakes up in the recovery room, disoriented and alone. But as his eyes adjust to the dim light, he sees the most beautiful sight. Dale Evans holding his hand like a guardian angel, her presence bringing a sense of peace and comfort. And there, sitting nearby, is Roy Rogers himself, a picture of strength and reassurance, with a newspaper in hand. Despite the fear and uncertainty swirling around him, David finds solace in their presence. Dale assures him that his mother will arrive soon, and in the meantime, they'll stay by his side, ensuring he's never alone. Their unwavering kindness and compassion leave an indelible mark on David's young heart, shaping his view of the world and the people in it. And as fate would have it, Roy Rogers extends an extraordinary invitation to David to join him on the Mary Ellen TV show, a program for children where Roy himself would be the guest of honor. It's a gesture of gratitude and goodwill, a testament to the lasting impact that Roy and Dale had on David's life. Through their acts of compassion and generosity, they showed David and the world what it truly means to be a good, honest, and caring person. Now, What's fascinating is what Cheryl revealed about Roy Rogers. While everyone around them, including the doctors, might have been skeptical about keeping Robin with them, Cheryl saw things differently. To her, those words of caution meant nothing. Why? Because in her parents' eyes, there was a deeper meaning behind having Robin with them. Cheryl knew that her parents' love for Robin was unwavering. They didn't just bring her home on a whim. They believed that there was a divine reason behind it all. They brought Robin home because Mom and Dad said God had a reason to give them her, Cheryl recalls. For almost 2 years, through thick and thin, Mom and Dad showered Robin with love and care. It wasn't always easy, but their commitment never wavered. In 1998, the world bid farewell to a true legend of the Wild West. Roy Rogers, the iconic cowboy with a heart of gold, passed away at the age of 86 in his Apple Valley home near Victorville. At his side were his beloved wife and co-star Dale Evans, as well as other cherished family members. Rogers' passing was attributed to congestive heart failure, a condition he had bravely battled in his later years. Despite undergoing heart surgery in 1977 and again in 1990, Rogers remained somewhat frail in the twilight of his life. Yet, his spirit and legacy continued to shine bright, inspiring countless fans around the globe. His memory will continue to be celebrated for generations to come.